Hey everyone, I was hoping to get this message put together sooner, but things like this unfortunately take time to set up. I just want to say that the acts of war against Ukraine break my heart, and I know as a prior service member myself that my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who's fighting the fight that they really shouldn't have to. That being said, we have been working behind the scenes with all of our podcasts and podcast partners to put a fund together in order to pay for any refugee housing and other needs that go alongside that, like food, water, and any clothing needs. Internally, many podcasts in the Hospitality FM network have voluntarily given up sponsorship money in order to donate to the cause and are working on a unified message in order to spread throughout all of our podcasts. So this is me calling out to all of our property manager friends, industry experts, and anyone knowing of those providing lodging for Ukrainian refugees seeking safety. You can contact me directly at will with one L, W-I-L, at slicktalkmedia.com. We have an internal document that is being updated in real time. So if anyone could share this message within your network, we'd greatly appreciate it. I'm also placing in the show notes a link to our GoFundMe and landing page for Rentals to Rescue. That's rentalstorescue.com, where we're putting funds together in order to, again, provide finances for any of these lodging and relocation needs. So thank you so much for tuning into this quick message. I hope you guys are all well and safe, as I know we have tons of listeners in Ukraine and other countries in Europe. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode. All right. Good morning, hospitality. What's up, everybody? How are we doing today?
What's happening? Happy Monday.
Happy
Good
Monday.
morning.
Well, afternoon. I always forget. Good morning, afternoon. Same thing, right? For at least us three during this time.
All different hours.
Still feels like morning.
I love it. Well, how's the week?
Pretty solid. Had some exciting news that we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, it was a fun week and have some cool stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Can't wait to hear the news for the first time ever. How about you, Mr. Ross?
No, I'm all good. I'm good. I was getting hope that the sun starts shining in here, and I think it stayed in your place as well, because in here it started raining again. Yeah. But beside this, a lot of things happening. Good to go. We're starting some cool stuff and I will share I can maybe share later today. Let's see. Otherwise, keep it for next week. We're starting some new introductions, cool stuff. So all good.
Awesome. Yeah, my background's a little bit different because the sun keeps shining in. So I got this awesome mural behind me. So we just decided to spice it up today. But I'm going to say... I
don't have this problem.
yeah. So it's not a bad problem. I like the sun. It feels good. Let's see. Do you guys want to do bid eruption first, or what's with the noise? I'm going to do like a rock, paper, scissors or anything like that. All right. We got bid eruption report coming up.
Yeah, good morning. Well, as you all know, we always have really special startups, and as soon as I mention them, they become successful. Now it's a bit opposite. They're already really successful, and that's why I'm mentioning them. So we have a good eye for it, and this one is really special. Some of you might heard about them. It's NoiseAware. Congratulate Golden and his team and everybody who's working for NoiseAware. They raised 8 million investment, so well done. Applause for them. And as I understood from them, they're solving a problem, right? I think it's really important. You're starting a company, starting a startup. How it started, that you have a solution for a problem. And I think if you look at the story, of course, you all know that in magnification rentals, there can be a lot of noise, and that's something what they solved. So it's a really nice solution. Of course, if you don't hear about them, check, of course, the NoiseAware website. again, what I noticed is they saved over 100 billion in damage in lost rental revenue. So well done. If you want to know more, we have a specialist in this team. So again, congrats for the Noise Aware team. One more thing I want to mention, next week I'll be speaking at the Skift Summit at the end of next week. It's on the 21st of February, together with Marriott, TripAdvisor, American Express, Hyatt, American Airlines. We're talking about subscriptions and loyalty in travel, so it's really my favorite topic. I'm super excited to speak about it, so tune in as well for the Skift Summit on the 21st of April. And again, congrats, Mr. Golden and everybody that knows Aware for being the start of the week. But I think more important, congrats with the 8 million of investment.
Hey, Grandma. So every Saturday morning, I take my boy out to get a donut and call my grandma. So thanks to this show, it's kind of become a habit. What's with the noise this week? I think we're going to take a look at some developments on the hotel side. And one of the articles Skift was covering this week was that luxury hotel developments are leaning more towards adding condos to the mix. And what that means for a couple of different segments. For the developer, it means they get to sell some of the units faster and recoup some of their upfront costs. But it also means that our trends of condo hotels and apart hotels are going to continue to happen. And it lends itself to kind of challenge the short-term rental movements that are going on. So we've got, for the hotel brands, now they've got a hotel product and a short-term rental product, as in with kitchens and bedrooms. For the owner, they have a place to live and a place to rent out when they're not there. And then for the developer, again, upfront money is a good thing when you're building expensive, big developments. And being able to capitalize on the sales of some condos early on helps you go and take a look at the next project and the next project after that.
Sweet. So yeah, it kind of goes into the topic of, you know, the lines being blurred more and more, apart hotels, condo hotels, short-term rentals and hotels blending in more of a cohesive way than comparative, you know, in the market of, well, they're not professional, or we want to see at the table, or whatever the conversation may be. So it's kind of cool to see that.
You've got Sonder calling themselves a hotel, and then you've got, you know, a lot of these new developments that are either flagged or going to be flagged, building short-term rental products, still calling them hotels. So at what point is it a short-term rental and is it a hotel? The lines are continuing to blur, and you know, as more companies start to do what Marriott does, because it's bound to happen at some point, the lines just continue to blur, because now you're booking a single-family home on Marriott or on IHG or whatever future channels there may be.
We might have to think about a new name. What is the mix, right? You got so many mixes always, the Porsche tells and everything I saw them coming by, but let's find a new naming for the combination of a hotel and an apartment.
Well, I'm kind of curious, like, what do you guys feel are the big, if you had to pick one or two things in a hotel or a short-term rental that separate the two instead of make it blurred, what would that be? Is it a kitchen? Is it, you know, like living space separate from other people? What is that thing that really separates them?
Kitchen and bedroom door.
Okay. I would say still the check-in part, right? For me, always the check-in part is still something which is really, if I think about the hotel, the experience of check-in and concierge and everything, for me, this is still an experience of a hotel. And then the breakfast part, right? It's still the buffet breakfast. This is so typical hotel. So I think, and of course, the things I mentioned, the kitchen part is obvious. It's the room facilities and stuff. But still, if we're looking at the experience, I think it's the breakfast part and the check-in.
Yeah, I mean, I've stayed in apartments that are that way. Like they have a check-in and they don't have breakfast for you, but they have coffee that you can make in the fridge, and they've got muffins out for you, like in your room.
Yeah.
So, like
Taking it from the lobby and putting
Well, I
it to
saw
the
that
room.
some last week. I think it was Marriott. I'm not sure, but they're starting with some vendor machines, right? So they're actually
Marriott.
instead of serving the was it Marriott? Yeah, instead of serving in the breakfast, they just go really into a vending machine. So maybe it's in between.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the best experience.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
That's like, I don't know. It's one of the staples of hotels and hospitality, I think, is that either whether it's continental breakfast or actual paid breakfast or some kind of, make your own waffles or who knows like what that is. But I feel like that's one of the staples of hotels. Like that's kind of what that set them apart. Like when they were trying to, like when Marriott and Hilton were going at each other back in the day, like they're, trying to compete and trying to always one up each other. It was always like, okay, what can we do? And then breakfast came in and it just became like the standard.
Literally taking the term bed and breakfast, right? Like
yeah.
A hotel is a bed and breakfast. It just a
Mm-hmm.
bed and breakfast traditionally is where the owners live on site. So
yeah.
I think this eventually would change, and I think people now, especially when there's queuing and putting the same kind of like fork or spoon in the same kind of food, especially now with hygiene and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure a lot of people waiting for this, right? I think more, if you see, I think the whole person is that people just put in their plate full and everything, and then that's so much food waste and everything.
Mm-hmm.
If it depends on me, we go really into more personalization, right? You just order one day before what you want to have for your breakfast, and it will be on the time you want to have your breakfast. It will be, of course, you can do the many place already, but I think they'll be much more common and makes much more sense, right? Eating it in your room or maybe even downstairs, but in a specific time, it's prepared what you want to have. Because it's food waste, first of all, I think is really bad because a lot of things is like it's all just thrown away. I think. So I think as well, what apartments could do if they're doing it really well and they have the facilities, or even making a deal sometimes with a neighbor restaurant, right? And this is also what you can see sometimes when there's a place below the apartment complex and there's a restaurant and you can use their kitchen or they can facilitate breakfast. Why not?
yeah, I think as hotels begin to leverage technology the way short-term rentals have, the traditional hospitality touches like continental breakfast or even a check-in go away. So there's easy ways to make a check-in virtual, right? You send a key code or number and send a concierge book, like Hostfully has. And then the food piece, you have a special deal with the bar across the street or the coffee shop next door or whatever. I think that's when things start to really get blurry, when hotels just look like short-term rentals have operated, and they're really taking a bit of the playbook away. Now the challenge is, how do you keep traditional hospitality in it? And as you were talking, order your food the night before. I'm just thinking bed and breakfast, right? You before bed, the house owner says, you guys want eggs for breakfast, like scrambled over easy, like what do you want? And that's that, right? That's true, fantastic hospitality. You can't replicate that with technology, at least in my.
Well, like this is where I've always kind of like, this is why I love technology, because like I feel like we have so many manual processes on a property, whether it's a short-term rental or a hotel. I always go off on how the front desk has like multiple checklists that they have to meet, that a lot of it could be automated or generated through technology. This gives the opportunity, I think, with this proper implementation, of hotels really can, adopt some of the short-term rental tech, that this will allow them to free up their agents or their concierge or whoever is behind the desk of check-in or guest service, and give them the opportunity to really focus on that experience, not just being, okay, I have to mark off my 20, check marks before 11 a.m. before I switch my other checklist for the afternoon shift or whatever. That is when I think the difference is gonna play a big role. I don't know, Ross, you probably have a a good perspective from the amount of hotels that are on Bidroom. So I'm just kind of curious, maybe what do you guys see
Well,
with
I want
that?
to come back to this technology part. I think this technology is super important, right? If you know, and especially in personalization, loyalty, use okay, my calls, for example, and they know that okay, this is kind of the kind of breakfast he always wants. And at the end, if you know much more information, you can adjust a bit your kitchen to it. You can plan much better if you know that you're so also one day before. If everybody has to pick his breakfast one day before, you know the time frame. So with managing everything, and especially I think related to food waste, I think it's super important if you can manage this better, right? So I think this is important to adjust. And I think if you look at the hotels, you see indeed the move, right? Either they're doubting should we really include much more facilities of vacation rental or short-term rental. Still, I think they don't, many of them, they just don't want to move in this direction because as soon as they move in too much in vacation rental, they come into a different kind of competition, right? And then it's okay, is it branded versus non-branded? Now is it hotel versus apartment? So, and I think especially in Europe, what we discussed before, of course, when most of the short-term rentals not branded. I think in the US it's a bit different, but so I think as soon the apartments of the hotels goes more into vacation rental industry, I think it becomes this branded versus non-branded. So this will be a complete different kind of discussion. So I think especially in Europe, I think vacation rental is still more popular. I think in the US, to be honest, branded ones. So I think
Yeah.
I think they're starting if the chains are starting, they might start a bit earlier in the US because there are just more and more people asking for it, and they might do it a bit later in Europe.
Yeah, I think I saw an interesting post by somebody yesterday that said, like, are you a traveler or are you a vacationer? And if you know the difference between your guest types, the vacationer wants things super easy. They want breakfast at their door or downstairs. They want to relax. They want a bar, right next door on site. The traveler wants to explore the breakfast tacos when they're in California or Texas, or explore the, Danishes when they're in Scandinavia, right?
Yeah.
So everyone, like, you take an honest look at who your travelers tend to be. And if you're a beach market in Florida, it's probably more the vacationer than the traveler. But if you're a boutique apart hotel in, South Beach, then maybe it is more of a traveler, somebody who wants to get out and explore. So I think every hotel, every short-term rental needs to have that honest conversation with them of who do we typically attract? Why do we attract them? And what do they want? Not, well, great, this new piece of technology can give everybody a guidebook when everyone just wants food at their door. They don't care where they go. They just want to chill and unplug. So I think it's interesting to see what's going to happen there because customers self-segment themselves.
I think that there are more blurred lines because of the technology. I think that's the reason. Also, if you're looking at concierge, for example, which was in the hotel, this is something replaced by an app from the vacation rental, right? Many of them, they have an app where they can facilitate, have the information about the location, etc. If you're looking at food delivery, for example, before it was okay, hotel is useful because I can have a room service. Now in this case, you just have the Ubers and the delivery. So this is already replaced as well. So I think because of something that technology changes, I think that's why there are more blurred lines and it's come closer to each other. And again, what I said, for example, in hotels, always like, okay, you can have a room service. Maybe some of them are delivered that the Uber eats to your hotel room. And the end in the apartment, you're always using an Uber. So at the end, this is more first, you had to go out there to get your food and still in the apartment. Okay, you've got your kitchen. How many people really go out there for shopping, right? And really cook in their kitchen? It's more convenient, especially with the family, right? So I think at the end, hotels who want to target more families, yes, they might go more into the combination, right? Have the facilities there. There's some, if you got kids, maybe one of these is large, you want to cook something specifically, or the baby girl has to go to bed. All those, well, Michael knows all those situations as well. So this is more often it's common to, there's more, and especially when you target families, it makes much more sense, of course, to have different facilities and have apartments in your hotel. So I think also hotels are realizing this more and more. And I was looking, for example, for some hotels maybe later this year. And then you're looking at the rooms, right? And still, even in massive hotels in really places for families, then it's just still normal hotel rooms, right? It just still, so of course they might be a bit bigger, but I think eventually you'll see that the change, they will adopt and say, okay, if we really want to target families, we might go more in this alternative accommodation, the space, the kitchen, and everything. I think
Yeah.
the real experience could be done if they can deliver. Sorry to interrupt, but I think then if they can redeliver this still, because you have the kitchen, as soon maybe vacation went to go into this full package, and you can have even shopping already arrived in your apartment, for example, before arriving. I think it created a complete different experience, right? So maybe this is already there, but
I think a lot of times in short-term rentals, we ignore the fact that there's this thing called extended stay hotels that have kitchens. Why does it feel like people don't use them? Right? Like, I've stayed in them before, but they're just kind of sterile environments that are typically on the outskirts of town. They're not prime location. They don't really have the cool coffee shop next door. They don't have every single room is the exact same, and it just doesn't. It feels like you're in an extended stay hotel. And I think long term, I'll pose this question to both of you guys, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, there's going to be the Saunders of the world and franchises that focus exclusively on apart hotels in good locations, good design, good technology. And really, we're kind of starting from scratch. Again, with the exception of Sonder, they're the only multinational apart hotel company that I can think of. I mean, you've got the Four Seasons that have residence clubs, and Ritz's have residences, but it's just not quite the same. And I don't know exactly where the distinction is, but those lines will be blurred, and these apart hotels will be hotels, but they're going to feel like cool, trendy apartments.
Well, so there's one here in Washington State where it's not a part hotel, but it's pretty much a developed neighborhood that's all short-term rental homes. They're all single-family homes, but they're in like a big development, which has built a community within inside. They have a couple pools, a couple like pizza restaurants and coffee shops and kite stores and all these certain things. They've literally built like basically a city. Do you think this is something that is going to be, because that to me definitely separates apart, like obviously it becomes like a short-term rental neighborhood compared to a condo hotel or apart hotel. Do you think something like those will become more popular as the time goes on? Because I think that's the thing with apart hotels and condo hotels, is that they're so much like a hotel. Like they are so much like either a small room. There's no, like you said, Golden, there's no door separating the bedroom and the kitchen for some of the suites or units. So do you think something like a short-term rental neighborhood or a short-term rental development, other than a building going up, more going horizontal, would be the big differentiator for short-term rentals and hotels?
Well, some of these already exist. Like you've got Reunion down in Florida that is a vacation rental neighborhood, like one of the biggest in the world. You've got Palmetto Dunes in Hilton Head. So these things do exist. What I think will be more interesting, like we've talked a lot about flexible housing on the show. Yeah. And to date, we've only talked about flexible housing in short-term rentals. What does flexible housing in single-family homes look like? That's something I don't know if anybody's explored. A neighborhood like you're talking about that actually encourages people to live there, but they can also maybe spend 3 months a year there and then 3 months a year somewhere else and 3 months a year somewhere else, right? Yeah. I think, and you could have equity building in your house instead of just renting and burning the cash that way. So yeah, I think that's an interesting, I really haven't thought about flexible living for single family, but it could be an interesting topic to explore.
Yeah. Well, just there's this blurred lines. I think also it's still the blurred and still the difference is like short-term or long-term or now mid-term kind of stay, right? Because I know people around me, they have several apartments in Krakow. Of course, tourism is limited, and they're asking me, okay, Should I still keep it on Airbnb or should I go for long term? And I think that eventually, like if you have the property ready, I think and then as you go to technology, because we were choosing, right? I'm going to prepare it for long term or short term. It can be used for both in many cases, right? Or even midterm or whatever. So I think also when the technology is out there, it's okay, find the right balance, also in revenue management and make it much more easy, right? If you want to rent something for 2 months, you don't have to difficult contracts, take over the energy bill and everything. So I think there's also that the second thing is like, and then you might have what Will said, okay, maybe you have neighborhoods. Some people stay for 3 months, some people stay for a few nights. I think that's pretty cool to have this mix and this balance. 1 year ago when I went to Silicon Valley, I stayed in Menlo Park. It was an apartment complex, and it was majority of the people who work there work for or Google or Microsoft or Facebook, or not Microsoft, or Facebook. Because it was all nearby, and it was a neat mix. There were tourists, there were some shared facilities, right? There was a common space, you can get some coffees there. So there are a lot of people who worked there maybe for half a year. They had to do a specific project there, and it was full with people who just had to go there for work or travelers. And so it was a really nice balance and mix, which was pretty cool. And also, so I think maybe that will be next, indeed, what you said, maybe next phase is okay, where the blurred lines you might see in the long-term, mid-term, and short-term rentals maybe mixing and blurring as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope they also blur with co-working spaces. I hope they start becoming. We're gonna have so many blurred lines that everything's just gonna become.
I watched the documentary on WeWork over the weekend, and they tried a We Live, like a co-living space.
Yeah.
It's super interesting to see some of the interviews of people that lived there after the fact. But the model makes sense. It is super niche, I think, the co-living concept. Co-working is fantastic. Like I'd actually met one of the guys that was interviewed quite regularly with WeWork because he was working on the We Live product, and I was chatting with him for a while. But the whole concept of sharing an office and having facilities that you can use all over the world. I've been in WeWorks in New York and Amsterdam and Spain and London and Miami and San Francisco, like Mexico City. Like the access to that brand and being able to just to go in and have an office space, brilliant, right? I'm not sure it directly correlates to living or to traveling, but you have a trusted brand, you have easy access, you have some sort of relationship, whether it's financial or other, with the business, and you can access these rooms. This is down to back to Ross's business model, a subscription. The reason I think Michael's onto something and it's coming is that there isn't a big enough footprint right now in apart hotels for a subscription. But with more and more Sonders of the world coming up, I mean, Sonder announced they're going to do an IPO or at least explore that pretty soon. The more they come up that way, the more a subscription makes sense. Like if my company can get me a Sonder subscription, they're pretty much in every city, sans maybe one or two, that I travel to for work. So it makes sense for the company to have a Sonder subscription, right? So I think and then if the company pays for my Sonder subscription, I can also use it myself for personal travel. So it becomes a really cool perk. Certainly a little diatribe there, but the future could be super interesting, and part of that's a franchise.
And that's a bit of we're seeing as well. But just to add in this, we see that some companies are taking the Bidroom subscription because it saves them travel, but the end is also benefit for their own experience, right? For their own stay. Maybe to add, I think it's also what you see is like Revolut. I don't know if you know Revolut, the fintech company, pretty popular here in Europe. They just announced that 2 months per year their employees can work from anywhere over the world, right? Of course, they have to pay by themselves, but they really facilitate in pushing this remote work. I think the remote work I was looking at is like actually makes sense. We could do the same, right? Just okay, maybe a few months per year, just work whatever you want to work. We had it last year already, right? We had employees as okay, right before this, you moved over for 2 months to Spain and work from there. Super productive, and it's for them, it's nice. So I think this will be a new trend as well. And then you see that places also the combination of what the ideal combination of a merit together with WeWork and those kind of things makes sense, right? You're just working from a place, you have great co-working facilities. At the end, you just have a great place to stay. Maybe WeWork should also just check, okay, can we work? Maybe we're more with the Sunders of this world. Okay, they have some facilities. But I think that this move, and I think this is a company who did it already, I think it will be more common. I think we will push those things as well. So then you see indeed the mix of like you want to have you don't want to stay in a hotel room for 2 months, right? You want to have some space. If you want to cook once your own breakfast, you want to do it. But the other hand, you want to have great working facilities. So there's a lot happening.
It lends the question to, Sonder is way ahead of everybody else in terms of volume and valuation, all that on the apart hotel model. So it lends the question to private equity roll-ups, right? And why they don't start rolling up a UK brand, a couple US brands, a Spanish brand, and have a similar footprint as Sonder and take it public and make $1 billion off of it. That also reminds me, we weren't wrong about the vendors merging and acquisitions. So Guesty and IBR last week completed an acquisition. And so we were just 1 week premature in pulling that statement. Just want to flag it. We were right. I think we threw the flag at 1 week too early.
Yeah, we were right. We were maybe overreading our cards. We didn't trust ourselves because we've been, called Lifehouse. Lifehouse has been killing it. So I think, we got a good track record and maybe just off on timing. COVID and 2020 and 2021 has kind of been a weird year anyway. So
We're fine.
Yeah.
And then all the funding that's been happening is quite good for this space, but it does certainly make M&A more challenging the more funding you take on. So.
Yeah. Be interesting. Awesome. Well, see you guys next week. That was a pretty good episode. I think I'm going to leave this question to the audience. We do have quite a few viewers actually right now on the live. So I'm just saying, where do you think the lines blur or don't blur? What separates the two? And what do you think the future is going to hold with a condo, hotel, apart hotel, anything like that, short-term rentals, hotels in general, lodging, travel, subscriptions, you name it. We have tons of stuff that we've covered, investments, mergers, acquisitions. You can check out all the previous episodes on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can check out all the live streams, and we'll see you guys again next week.